This is not your property. Step away from the porch." She actually screamed that at me while I was barefoot on my own family cabin steps, holding a tray of lemonade like some confused criminal, and for a second, I honestly thought it was a prank. There she was, clipboard, some HOA badge that looked homemade, and the kind of scowl you reserve for exorcisms. Then, in front of my own kids, she called 911 on speaker. Yeah, that happened. She claimed I was illegally occupying common space, right there where my family's porch had been since the Eisenhower days. I just stared, not sure whether to laugh, puke, or go get the camcorder, because if you've never been attacked with a phone call while you're setting up folding chairs for a family reunion, you have no idea what pure American absurdity feels like. The woman, our new HOA president, fresh off the moving truck, stormed across the grass like she was about to start eminent domain proceedings. Sun glinting off her sequin workout top, folder in one hand, phone in the other. According to Association Noise Ordinance Section 312, she announced, waving the folder like a magic wand, gatherings exceeding 15 people require board approval, 72 hours in advance. She sounded like someone announcing an air raid, not a barbecue. "Ma'am," I said, as calmly as I could manage, even though my jaw was tight enough to crack a walnut. "This is a 70-year family tradition. Private property, not an association block party." She blinked, like I'd switched languages. "You know what I mean? That look people get when you just broke their personal simulation. Private property or not, you're still bound by community standards," she shot back, yanking out a printout. "I've already received 3 complaints about your gatherings." That was rich. Our only neighbor in shouting distance is old Mr. Henderson, and he never complains. He brings potato salad and stays for the fireworks. I asked her, 3 complaints from who exactly? She hugged the folder closer, mumbling something about confidentiality. And in that instant I knew either those complaints were her, or they never existed at all. That's when she made her big move. Dialed 911, live and loud, declaring she was witnessing an unauthorized occupant hosting an illegal gathering on association common area, violating noise ordinances, creating public disturbance. She kept saying common area like it was a church sanctuary. The absurdity would have been hilarious if I hadn't been so pissed off. The cops showed up 20 minutes later, cruiser rolling over the gravel we've maintained since Granddad's day. My pulse was hammering. The officer, Clark, good guy, steady, strolled up, hand resting by his radio, eyeing the folding chairs and lemonade like maybe this was the riot he'd been warned about. The president dove right in, reciting violations and waving papers like she was on Law and Order, filming everything with her phone. She actually announced, "Everyone needs to see this violation of community standards," as she panned over my lawn. I met her lens, stayed cool. "Are you absolutely sure you want to escalate this?" For a beat, she hesitated. But the performance was for whatever invisible audience she imagined, not for me. Clark checked IDs, asked about property lines. "Ma'am," he said, "this appears to be private property. Do you have documentation showing association authority here?" She dug through her folder, produced bylaws and maps that didn't mention our cabin. After 10 more minutes of her insisting the HOA's authority extended to every blade of grass, Clark told her, "I'd recommend you verify your boundaries before making future complaints." Her face, all that confidence, just starting to crack. But I could see it in her eyes. This wasn't over. The next morning, I found a manila envelope taped to my door like some legal curse. Inside, HOA violation notices for noise, parking citations for guest cars that hadn't even shown up, structure violations for decorations that weren't even out of the box yet. Every document looked official, dated, numbered, as if she'd stayed up all night building a paper trail. Honestly, it was almost impressive. She cited decibel levels, photographed my empty driveway, made up infractions out of thin air. She turned harassment into paperwork. That night, she called an emergency HOA meeting at the community center, PowerPoint slides and all, maybe a dozen neighbors in attendance. Decibel levels exceeded standards during quiet hours, she declared, with charts and graphs like she was presenting the State of the Union. I sat in the back, holding my property deed, dated 1952, survey markers and all, from before the HOA was even an idea. "This cabin has been in my family since before any of us moved here," I said, showing the deed, and Henderson piped up from the third row, my dad pointed it out when we bought in the 80s. That should have been enough. But Gloria, yeah, let's call her that, clicked to a map labeling my place as disputed territory. She declared, private property owners must still follow community noise standards. Like if she said it with enough conviction, reality would bend. People nodded along, confused. Afterward, she went door to door with a petition, warning Mrs. Patterson that home values could drop 10 to 15% if violations weren't addressed. It was fear-mongering in the politest neighborhood language, but it worked. Within hours, she had signatures from half the houses, not because they believed her, but because they didn't want to be on her bad side. It's amazing how quick people you've known for decades will choose comfort over truth. Her petition demanded immediate action to address ongoing violations by unauthorized occupants of disputed property, language that made me sound like some squatter. That night, sitting on the deck looking at the lake, the same lake my granddad taught me to fish on, I felt something break. Gloria had convinced decent people to doubt what they knew, all for the sake of her own control. She wasn't done, either. Instead of filing more complaints, she started a whisper campaign. Social media groups, Lakefront Safety Watch, posting photos of my place from bad angles, spreading rumors, declining property maintenance, questionable family background. She cornered Mrs. Thompson at the mailbox, whispered about my father's foreclosure back in '93, left out the part where it was medical bills from cancer. Every trip to the market, someone gave me side-eye. My family became a talking point for folks who'd never said hello in 15 years. It was brutal, watching our reputation shredded by someone who'd barely lived here a season. The comments ranged from concerned neighbor, nonsense to outright slander, all because she'd weaponized the HOA's authority. People started avoiding us, kids included. My daughter stopped getting invited to birthday parties. My wife, Sarah, got quietly dropped from the garden club she helped start. Every social event in the neighborhood became a test of loyalty. That's when I fought back the only way I knew how, face to face. I went door to door with black and white photos from the 50s, showing Granddad helping build the roads, my dad at fire department cleanups, our family digging wells for neighbors. I laid the photos out on kitchen tables, told the story straight. We've always been here. We've always been good neighbors. People softened when they saw the truth, real truth, right in front of them. Henderson, bless him, looked at the photos and said, "Your granddad helped my dad with our septic system. Never asked for a thing." Neighbors started opening up, apologizing for signing the petition, for believing rumors. Some remained loyal to Gloria, but the tide was turning. By the end of the week, I'd visited 22 houses. Most people just wanted to be left alone, not get caught in the crossfire. But a few, you could tell, regretted letting fear speak louder than friendship. Then, right when I thought it might be over, Gloria played her final card. Bright yellow sign in my yard. Unsafe property, pending inspection. It was open war now. That's when Henderson came to me, nervously handing over a thick envelope of county records. His father, the county surveyor in '85, had kept original land grants, surveys, maps, proof that our family's land predated the association. Turns out, every road, common area, even some lots were built on our easement rights. Decades of homeowners had been living on clouded titles, all thanks to a clerical screw-up nobody ever bothered to fix. I didn't just sit on this. I copied it all, filed it with an attorney, and prepared for the next round. When I confronted Gloria at the next HOA video hearing, all 23 households watching, I shared the documents. Explained, calmly, that according to the county, my family's rights predated the HOA by 33 years. The silence was thick enough to cut. "How is this possible?" Mr. Peterson blurted. Others started unmuting, the orderly hearing turning into chaos as people realized they'd been misled about their own property. Gloria tried to object, but the genie was out of the bottle. I suggested verifying everything through the county. Couldn't argue with that. The board, shaken, tabled the hearing. Her penalty spreadsheets looked ridiculous now. Her trial had become mine to win. But here's the twist. This was never just about winning. I could have pressed my rights, appended the whole development, made everyone's titles a legal nightmare. Instead, after consulting with Clark, turns out he'd been researching the history too. Thank God for curious cops. I proposed a land trust. Everyone keeps their homes. The community acknowledges our history. We prevent this kind of abuse going forward. The vote was unanimous. Gloria was removed from the board, complaints filed for harassment and fraud, and she moved away 2 months later, credibility in tatters. What came next? Honest community, open meetings, real transparency, neighbors actually talking, kids playing together again. My family's cabin went from battleground to symbol of something better, not just who owns what, but what it means to be neighbors. Standing on the porch at sunset, feeling that old peace, I realized I didn't just reclaim property, I reclaimed belonging. If you've ever had to stand up to an HOA, fight for your family's story, or just want to share your own saga, drop it in the comments. Would you have gone for full legal payback or chosen the high road? I honestly want to know. Take care of your people, protect your peace, and never let anyone tell you you don't belong in your own story. That's my take, but now it's your turn.